proceedings.com.
Yes, listen to me, people. Listen to me. I bring you the truth. I bring you the prophecy, the family court prophecy. Ooh. Ooh. Family court. Family court. We are going to the family court. Divorce. Child arrangements. We are going to family court. We are going to fight for our children. Family court. Yes, I bring you the truth. People, what are you talking about? What are we talking about today? Listen, got something on my face. What's that? What is all that on my face? Listen, thank you for tuning in. I'm John Paul from bravefathers.com. Where's my pen? Can't find my other pen. All right. Let's talk about family courts. Let's talk about crazy people in family courts, because we have them sometimes. People who have no regard for you, your children, for your life, for who you are. People who don't care about you. Right? So today we are talking about high conflict situations. Look, I have something on my face. We are talking about high conflict situations in family courts. Specifically, we are talking about abusive women in family courts. We are talking about high conflict people, high conflict women in family courts. So there are two things I want us to look at today. So the first one, actually, is a story of Frank. So Frank had a daughter. Frank had a daughter. You know, and he liked Angelina Jolie. So there was this movie, I think that was what inspired him to name his daughter, because he named his daughter Salt. Salt. And I think that was a movie that Angelina Jolie acted in. And Frank named his daughter Salt. 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 Frank named his daughter Salt. And we're drinking beer one time, just having some beers. I said to him, it's interesting. You're raising a daughter. I know nothing about that, but I'm curious about you. What was the one thing that you got teach your daughter? What's the one thing you're going to teach your daughter? And then Frank said to me, I'm gonna tell her that if a man is not ready to jump through a few hoops for her, he doesn't deserve to be in her life. And I was like, okay, cool, that's interesting. Interesting. And the next day, I didn't know this, but that was the last time I was going to see Frank for a while, because the next day I had an emergency that took me out of town for a while. So we didn't speak for a while. But then Frank called me one time, some months later, and said, we are separating. I said, what? He said, yeah, my child's mother and I are not going to be together, and we are going to family courts. We are going to family courts. And so I was like, whoa, that's harsh, And of course, I wanted to help him out the best I could. But here's what happened. His child's mother started accusing him of things, of bad things, of being abusive. She started accusing him of abuse. So he goes to court. He thinks everything's going to be cool, but no, there's allegations of, domestic abuse and all that stuff. And he was told that he's not going to see his daughter until they are sure it is safe to do so. So at the first hearing, the contact was cancelled for a while. I think there was going to be a report that would take about 90 days. And so he asked the judge, he said, why are you doing this to me? I'm a good dad. Why can't I just see my daughter? Why do I have to go through all this stuff, all these hearings, all these reports, all these accusations? And the judge said to him, if a man is not willing to jump through a few hoops for her, he does not deserve to be in her life. Whoa. Yeah. That's a horrible thing. But it gives you an interesting thought. Because one thing that people don't realize is that the reason why the courts are the way they are is because in our society, we always assume that the male is the bad guy and the female is the good one. That's the dynamic we believe in. So naturally, males are more active, more proactive about things they want. They tend to be more aggressive. That's nature. That does not make them abusive, right? That's how we build society. We look at a piece of land and say, okay, we're going to cut down the trees and build a house here. And we use our hands and our minds to build a house and a home for our families, for the people we love. We protect them. Females, on the other hand, tend to be physically weaker and, of course, more passive in life, right? I understand that now people don't want to accept the differences, but there are many differences. There are many differences between men and women. So, since there are many differences between men and women, that biological difference is now used to build a foundation for that narrative because we see men as aggressors, which we are, but not necessarily in an abusive way, and females are receivers, right? We approach women, we ask them out, we initiate things as men. So that's what's supposed the narrative. However, we've taken it to the extreme and we translate the male aggression, male desire to provide, to take care, as being controlling, as being abusive. So the same way a father tells the daughter, assumes that his daughter is going to be a good one in a relationship, the same way a judge assumes the same thing, that the mother is a good one. So think of the judge as your child's mother's father, right? He's not, but think of it that way. Or the mother, if it's a female judge. The same way you see your daughter as the good one, the same way they see their daughter, so to speak, as the good one. It's just the way it is. Is that right? No. Can it be changed? Yes. But that would mean we would have to have actual equality, and that would change how the social dynamics are. And as it stands, because we are not an entrepreneurial society as such, and we are not very innovative, we have to create revenue from such things, from services around the family courts. It's a huge industry employing lots of people, employing me, to be fair. Not for long, because this is a business I'm going to get out of. I want to help as many fathers as I can, but at some point, I'm not going to do it anymore. But nonetheless, as it stands, it's a business that employs me as well. So you have to realize that that narrative is built by the culture. So anytime you felt the need to protect a female in an argument that you witnessed without knowing what was really going on, you were doing the same thing the courts are doing. And you may think you were right, and I'm not saying you were not, but from the court's perspective, they are doing the right thing as well. So even if somebody lies about you, as it happens in high conflict situations, the court will protect that person because that person is a female. That's just how it goes. Okay? I don't like it, it's wrong, but as long as we put women on a pedestal, as long as we assume they are good, as long as we don't hold them accountable, and when I say hold them accountable, you must hold the women in your life accountable. You must be willing to walk away from women, for example, who don't respect you, like your child's mother. I've seen cases and situations where the mother, excuse me, I hope I don't have something on my nose. That'd be so bad. The mother is hostile, disrespectful, lying, alleging abuse that never happened, and so on and so forth. And the guy still wants to reconcile with her. Whereas if a male friend did that, you wouldn't reconcile with that person. If a stranger did that to you, you wouldn't accept it. But for some reason, we think it's okay for females to be disrespectful and rude and to hurt your feelings and to hurt your body. I was listening to someone today who I respect, but I had to disagree because he claims that when a female is acting out, you must have done something to cause it. That's not true. Don't look at my face. Something's on it. I think I've got a cold. That's that's disgusting. But I still bring you the prophecy. So it's all good. Look ahead. Look ahead, my friend. Look straight up. So this is a dynamic that is so deep and so entrenched that it's crazy. Couple that with lots of males not having loads of experience for whatever reason with women, maybe they had 2 or 3 girlfriends or sex partners before they met their wife. Some had only one, some had maybe 10 or something, but that's not a lot of experience. And so they don't know the truth about how things are. They don't understand how things work and they get hurt. And then we have the dark, forbidden secrets of the family courts, the things that nobody wants to admit happen, but they happen. Very few people are brave enough to actually admit that those things happen. So, what do we do? How do we resolve these things? Well, we'll spend time today talking about that, how to resolve high conflict. If you're divorcing or just in child arrangement proceedings, you need to know this. So, I'm going to show you something because what a lot of fathers don't understand, and it makes me very angry because they get it, but they get it too late. They don't prepare because they don't understand that females have coaching before they make their move. Because they are more passive, they are less risk tolerant, they prepare way before. So if you've been served divorce papers or a woman tells you, look, I'm out, even if she acts crazy, even if she's abusive, she still will prepare way before she makes that move. She has already laid out her plan. Not only that, there are many supporting agencies who will help her in her plan to stop you from seeing your children. So you have to know how to deal with those things. You have to really know how to deal with those things. That's what we'll talk about today. But behind the scenes, there are people helping her, giving her tips, giving her advice on what to do to stop you from seeing your children. So I'm going to show you something, right? Check this out. Check this out. So this is from an online discussion. And check this out. This is a female, right, who supports females. She says, do not accept 50-50 without a fight and extensive safeguards being put in place. This is quite literally your children's lives at stake. So, this is a situation where the mother has made some allegations. True or false, I don't know. This person doesn't know whether they're true or false. They just assume they are true. Like the court has to assume that they might be true, right? By law. So this person is saying, don't accept 50-50 without a fight. So already you have a high conflict person being told by somebody who supports females in family court, being told to put up a fight. All the while, you are sitting there trying to think of, oh, do we reconcile? How do we get back together? How do we make this work for the children? How do I do the right thing? How do I reduce fighting? How do I reduce conflict? But the people who are supporting her are telling her, no, fight, fight, fight. That's what they are telling her. They're telling her to fight. And you are trying to be the nice guy, trying to bring peace to a situation where there can be no peace. Family courts are not a place for peace. If you're in a family court, peace is over, it's done. Okay? You have to understand that. So if you find yourself in a high conflict situation, if you are not prepared, and then you start thinking about how to create peace, you are even less prepared. You are steps way, way behind. And this is a very common mistake. I spoke to somebody about this today. So I think you're watching now. So this goes to you as well. You are way behind. All this trying to figure out how to avoid proceedings, how to slow things down, how to be the nice guy. It's not going to fly. And I'm sorry to tell you that even the professionals in court will not tell you this because they are bound by codes of ethics and so on and so forth. They cannot tell you the dark secrets. They are not fortune tellers, so they can't tell you what's going to happen, even if they know what's going to happen, right? But I'm telling you, the allegations are going to escalate. The whole thing is going to get worse. Okay? You have to be prepared. So you see somebody saying, fight, 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 right? So let's look at what happened next. And unsupervised contact is most definitely not in their best interest. And a matter of months does not change his suicidal and murderous thoughts towards his children. So again, this is based on some allegations so far not tested. We don't know if they are true or not. I don't believe the allegations to their full extent, personally. But this person is saying supervised contact at most, right? Oh, not even that. They say what? Unsupervised contact is not in the kid's best interest, even though the children are fine with the father, right? They try. The mother is good, the father is bad, and this narrative has been on for so long in our culture. Let's go. His comments are parental alienation and need recording and bring it up at the next court appearance. Do not think hiding things is going to benefit the children in any way. So the argument here is she wants the mother to tell the children earlier on in the discussion that the father is dangerous and so on and so forth. So she's essentially telling the mother to alienate the father while saying that the father is alienating the children. And the father did make some inappropriate comments. So I'm not going to say the father is right in this case, but the mother is not right either. So, but that's where the high conflict is. Instead of de escalating, the people behind the scenes are pushing for more contact, for more conflict. So, whilst we are trying to make peace, trying to be the nice guy, thinking, oh, the hearing is 2 months ahead. So, yeah, stressing every day, drinking, smoking, doing whatever, or sleeping or being depressed, rather than being coached and preparing, the conflict is being escalated. Do you think the father knows that the mother is getting this advice? He doesn't, just like you don't know what advice your opponent in court is getting right now. So that's why the conflict gets exaggerated, it gets bigger and bigger because there are people fueling that. And then solicitors, barristers, and other people will say, oh, here's abusive. Yes, yes. Let's stop him. And they are wondering, like, why? What's happening? Whereas you had time to at least mitigate some of this conflict, a way to quench it down. And yet people choose to ignore this good advice. You see? And the fathers who don't ignore it are the ones who win. So if you want to be a father who win, listen to what I'm saying. The conflict is being fueled by professionals as well, because they get paid for it. The longer the case drags, the more they support the female, as they call it, the more they get paid. So they need to do it. They don't have any qualms about cutting you off from the children's lives. That's why fathers don't see their children sometimes for years. Good fathers. Because it's very likely, if the father has a good person helping them, such as myself, that they'll prove the allegations are false. But by the time the allegations are proven false, guess what happens? The mother has another weapon saying, oh, the children don't want to see him now. They've forgotten him. They have a routine. We don't want to disrupt it, blah, 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 blah. Supervised contact to make sure it's safe because the kids are distressed now when they are supposed to see their father, and so on and so forth. So it's just an endless cycle until you end it. But if you know it's going to happen, you can start preparing arguments ahead of time. You can sometimes blindside the opposition. I'm not saying there's a guarantee, because yes, your solicitor was right when he said or she said there are no guarantees. But they know what I'm telling you, that this is coming. But they're not going to tell you because probably that goes against their code of ethics, right? Because it's not happened yet. And a lot of fathers think, nah, I'm going to be different. Nah, she wouldn't do that. And then they come crying all night. You see, and that's why I don't feel sorry for people when they complain online. Because when you hear the good advice of what to do, you ignore it. So why should I still feel sorry for you? Why should I feel sorry for you if you're in a high conflict court case, if you are ignoring the good advice that will help you win the case? If you are given all the steps you need to mitigate the conflict, to prove your false allegations to be wrong, to be false, to win time with your children, perhaps even have them live with you, but you are waiting for the opposition to give you 10 uppercuts and jabs and some hooks before you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to fight now. When you're already against the ropes, sliding down to the floor. Why? In my experience of supporting women predominantly and children in these situations, pushing for supervised contact for as long as possible. Do you hear that? Pushing for supervised contact for as long as possible. So even if your ex is ready to negotiate and tell you, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna agree and give you some time now, they're like, no, 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 no. Push for supervised contact for as long as possible. Not until we are sure he's okay with the children or until, whatever. No, 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 no. For as long as possible. So do you see now why it's so difficult to win? And you are sitting here waiting for what? Waiting for what? Act now, start preparing. Start preparing your case, build your case, protect yourself. So this is the advice that the women are being given. Parenting classes as well as accessing MH as mental health support is highly advised. So parenting classes, mental health, you see all these people getting paid? Let me write this down. So this is what I'm saying. All these people are getting paid from your high conflict situation. And you're waiting for what? Do you see what I'm saying? So they are going to throw all these things at you to make it as difficult as possible for you to spend time with your children. Now check this out. Building up if compliance to overnights over an extended time scale in the hope that any issues appear before the final order. Building up if compliant to overnights over an extended time scale in the hope that any issues appear before the final order. So she's hoping that the issues will appear before final order. That's why you have an extended period of time so that they can have excuses and more lies to keep you away from your children. And you're wondering why it's so high conflict. You're wondering why you're being hit from so many angles. And what hurts me the most is you're waiting for those things to hit you before you take action. Oh my goodness. You know, it's difficult. I know it's difficult and I know it hurts. I know it's a tough situation, but you are making it harder by not taking action and by not doing what you've got to do to prepare properly. You don't have time. You don't have time. The time that in between the hearings should be used to get yourself ready. Every week, we you need to talk so that you know what you're doing for that week, and then in the week you implement those things, and that's how you have a better chance of winning. You see, what people don't understand is the beginning of the case is what determines the rest of it. So if you don't have the strong foundation if you don't know how to get leverage, because in many cases, not in every case, but in many cases, you can get leverage that will allow you to win more time, win more, you know, overnight stays, perhaps 50-50, sometimes even win for the children to live with you. You won't know it if you don't put in the work, if you don't put in the effort. You won't know about those things and you won't be able to do that. Then, if you play the nice guy and use nice guy logic and don't accept that you're being destroyed, you you don't have a chance. And you see, and I see so many fathers complain about how hard it is, and I understand because it is hard. I have been through it myself. But there's no magic trick. All there is hard work. You put in the work, you get the results. And people think you just get the results because another man got it. I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours working on my case. And even then, I wish I knew what I'm telling you now before I started, because then I would have a different outcome faster as well. But I had no idea. I had no idea. So you must get on with it. Now, on top of it all, you know now that the courts are biased against you, right? You know this. So the odds are stacked against you. Your opponent knows that lies will help to destroy you and to make your life harder and to take you away from the children. The less time you spend with your kids, the more money you pay. So there's the financial incentive as well. In our culture, a father is not valued. The father's contribution is not seen as necessary. It's literally not seen as necessary. In fact, some would argue it's detrimental. There are people making hundreds of millions of pounds and dollars every year from high conflict cases. They have no interest in reducing the high conflict cases because that's their source of income. And because our society's males have become so passive, it's difficult. So are you going to be one of those few who put in the work and win? Let's look at a conspiracy theory, right? Let's call this a conspiracy theory. Have you realized how much contempt there actually is for fathers in the media, right? I'm sure you've seen all these, um, sitcoms and movies and adverts where the dad acts a fool and everybody is so smart. Of course, the mother is the smartest, and he just looks stupid, right? I'm sure you've seen that. But look, even in the culture, we have what they call a dad bod, right? So that means a dad who has let himself go, got a pot belly, he's not exercising, he's not eating well, he's got a dad bod, right? If you said a man bod, that would be what? Perhaps an insult. They'll say, "Oh, dad, you cool," right? So if you're a bit relaxed, funky, you chill out, dad, you cool. That means what? You're goofy, right? In a way that allows people to feel contempt for you. So all these mechanisms, all this media, all these things, they feed into each other, right? And what you have to understand is women live in a different world from men. Females don't live in the same world as males. We live in the same time, space, uh, um, what's the word? The same time and space, but we don't live in the same reality. Our realities are different. They are promised Prince Charming from birth, right? We remember we talked about Frank's story from the beginning, where he says the man must jump through hoops to be in her life. And many males think this is true, right? Take the female to dinner, expensive meals, drinks, expensive places, try to impress her, try to be accommodating of her bullshit, right? Spend 2 or 3 months of the hard-earned salary on the wedding, and then spend a year's salary, if not more, 2 years sometimes way more, on the wedding ceremony, all to be divorced later and separated from their kids. And the only reason why it's possible is because males have become so passive. We have refused to be men anymore. We reject masculinity. We want to cry in public. We want to be given the same treatment as females, not knowing we are not the same as females. And that's why we fail. That's why the courts take advantage of it. The whole system takes advantage of it. So the females are promised a male would take care of them. They take it for granted. When she's taking your money, she thinks she deserves it, even if you were only married for a year and you studied for 7 years or 5 years or whatever time it took you to get to that position and worked hard and you made your money, and she's been married to you for a year or two, whatever. She thinks she's entitled to it. She's entitled to your house, whatever it is you've worked for. She thinks you owe it to her because the society said because she exists, she deserves it. And you once believed it too. Why? Because she looks good to you and she's got a vagina. You thought she is worth it. And you put in all that effort. So now the family court is treating you the same way you treated yourself. So you have to reverse it. When you reverse it, then you now gain the power to overcome what's coming at you. But you must do it, otherwise, you will keep repeating the same mistakes. So a lot of men think that a woman's sex is more valuable than a man's sex, right? So your dick doesn't have the same value as a vagina. So when she gets fucked, she thinks she deserves something for it. And many males think that's true, when it is not. Doesn't matter how beautiful, how sexy she is, how hot you think she is. She doesn't deserve any special treatment. She actually does not. And you're finding out the hard way that she does not, right? When you're in a high conflict family case. Now, a lot of these cases, you could also win if you can prove she has a personality disorder, if she does have a personality disorder. But again, the only way you can do that is if you know how to take those steps, because the opposing factions have realized that that's one way fathers win, and they've worked very hard to make it difficult to prove such a situation. So again, you have so many things working against you. But if somebody has a personality disorder or some kind of mental health issue, they don't care about the children missing out on you. They don't care about you getting depressed. All they care about is they get what they want, they get the control they want because they want control, and they get your money. In some cases, they even want the control more than your money. And then if you have the people, like I showed you in the beginning, convincing the female to make it hard for you to see your kids, make it difficult for you, make it almost impossible. And these fathers wait, rather than acting now to prepare, many wait for all the bullets to hit them before they want to, you know, to start doing something when they are wicked. And it's sad. It's sad. So the lost art of being a man is one of the secrets. But I know you don't want to hear about it, unfortunately. So I'm not gonna go too deep into it. But it's not even about traditional gender roles. It's about being a man, period. If that's harsh for you, if you think that's something that the society has moved past, then you have to accept that society doesn't accept your importance as a father. You can't comply with the bullshit narratives and expect a different outcome because you're complying. And I know fathers who have won in court, and all of them prepared, all of them defied the society's rules. I'm not saying break the law or anything, but you don't have to follow social norms. You actually don't have to. If it's not against the law, you don't have to comply with it. You know, this is the moment where it really, really scares me. It scares me to think how many fathers would rather be seen as nice guys than put up a good fight in the family courts. It scares me because if the fathers are now deferring to the society that has put them down, what chance do the children have? What chance do we all have? And it makes me sad and it scares me because it means the world or our society at least is just going to be weakened. We are not going to have the power that we need. We're not going to be dominant. And again, dominant does not mean domineering. I'm saying this because some people don't get it. Dominant means you know what you want, you go about what you want, and you do what you want to do. And you work towards your goals, towards the things that you care about. But you can't get there by being passive. You can't get there by waiting. You can't. And a high conflict divorce is going to drain you. And it's going to make it worse if you don't have the right attitude. Because you expect a certain level of fairness, which is not happening. In fact, it's going to be negative fairness. It's going to be so bad that if you're unprepared, it can lead you to not want to even be on the planet anymore. And many people choose that path. So that's why you have to act now and start preparing yourself. You have to start doing what it takes to win. And waiting is not part of the strategy. Waiting and hoping are not the strategy. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So the playbook is simple. You saw part of it in the beginning. Make it difficult and extend the period of time where the father does not see the child. And then, in the meantime, turn the children against the father. As you saw in that suggestion, to tell them what's going on. And in that particular situation, the kids are little, about 7 years old, 9, I think 10 is the oldest. Why would you want to destroy the image of the father to them? Why? Even if it's truly a bad image, that it is too early. You see, but that shows you how little regard the society has for a father. And the worst part is a lot of fathers don't have high regard for themselves either. You know, the difference between what I offer and what a lot of other professionals offer is that I'm not gonna be nice to you because you don't need niceness. You've had enough nice people in your life. You have enough people who are making you feel good. And now you're in this position because at some point somebody not kick you in your chest or punch you in your chest when you needed it. They told you to cry and you cried freely, right? Perhaps. I'm not saying that's what happened to you per se, but to many fathers. They said express your emotions, be vulnerable. They said cook, clean, do what she wants. Treat her like a queen, treat her like a princess. And you listen to society. Society gave you dating advice, and you listened to society's dating advice. And now here you are. How has it worked out for you? So you don't need niceness. You don't need nice people to make you feel good. You don't need nice people to pander to your feelings and to confirm and validate you. You actually need to review your identity, to rethink who you really are. Because the court has a psychology. This thing goes really deep, and it just hurts me to think that so many fathers will hear this and be like, nah, that's crazy, that's not how it works, it's not that deep, blah, blah, blah. I'm just gonna prove that I didn't do X, Y, and Z. But no, the court has a psychology. And if you don't know that psychology, you will fail. But you cannot know that psychology if you don't know your own psychology. Because they deal with cases like this all day long. There is what? 14,000, at least 15,000 cases every quarter, about 60,000 cases, new cases each year. So they've seen the patterns. They know how you feel. They know how to cross-examine you in a way that makes you contradict yourself. They know just by looking at your position statement. Like, that's what one thing that makes me angry when people say, oh, you are going to write a position statement with my solicitor. And it's such bullshit, because what they do is you go and sit down with the solicitor for an hour or two and then draft the paper. Is this is this your position statement? Yeah. And that's it. 2 hours, 2 fucking hours. And then you wait for 2 or 3 months for your case. And you lose. And you wonder why. 2 hours. You think in 2 hours you're going to write a statement that will help you win your case. In 2 hours. That's what you believe. Where these people have spent thousands of hours working against you. They have the system on their side. And you think 2 hours is enough to put a position statement that is going to give you a winning advantage. Because wrongly, fathers think that, oh, if I just express what I really feel and the judge understands me, he will see it my way. No. They already have made up their mind of what's going to happen. The only thing that you are going to get is a variation of what they decided. So you have to very early on change the narrative about you. So you have to anticipate what the story is, and then your position statement has to neutralize it as much as possible. But you can't do it if you don't know how to. And your solicitor is not getting paid enough to do it for you, because are they going to spend 10, 20 hours with you? Because that's what it takes to really get your position. Not, putting down the words is the easy part, but knowing what to write. So think about it like you go to university and you write a dissertation, right? If you were just to put down words, you could do it in a couple of hours, right? But knowing what to write took you several years of studying and then many, many hours of preparation, research, and so forth. It's the same thing in family courts. You have to prepare for what you're doing. Solicitors are not there to fight for your case. They are there to represent you. They are there to represent what you are saying and go by your instructions. They're not there to fight for you. That's not their job. A barrister's job is not to fight for you. The barrister's job is to present your case in the strongest possible way, yes. But an hour of conversation or 2 or 3 hours of conversation is not what's going to make the difference. And one of the reasons why mothers win, besides all of the advantages they have is that they spend hours, they spend a long time preparing. They research, they ask questions, they talk to people. Like I've seen situations where the mother went to like 15 organizations just to get advice. Do you see? So by the time she goes to court, she has a lot of different weapons to use against you. She has a full picture. So when you see that statement, before she goes to do those 2 hours with the solicitor, she's already spent 30, 40, 50, 60 hours preparing for those 2 hours. And there you are depressed because you want to see your kids. This is not the time. And like I said, being nice, looking for nice people is going to fail you. This is the time you need some tough love. You need to toughen up and you need to get tough love as well to win. Else you don't have a chance. And it hurts me when fathers come to me 2 or 3 months later, 4 months later, weeks later, whatever, with a case they could have won, but they lost. And now they want to undo the damage. And yes, we do our best, but why make it harder for yourself when you can win a better outcome? High conflict cases are high conflict because in the chaos, you get weakened. You are not prepared for it emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and legally. So the more chaos there is, the more separation there is between the child and yourself, right? The separation is created between you and your child. And that separation allows them to have a different status quo. And then that status quo becomes the foundation of what the court decides. So even if your allegations are proven false, then the status quo kicks in. So that's why the high conflict cases are that way. Apart from that, the female who creates the conflict likes the attention. She likes the drama. She likes it. It's interesting. There's gossip, there's fighting, there's arguing, there's insults. It's fun. Not for you, but for her it is. She wants to fight. You want to take care of your child. Not on her watch. So you have to be willing to do things differently. You have to be willing to act in a way that you normally wouldn't. But you have to know what to do, how to act, how to prepare, how to write a witness statement that helps you, how to prepare for the fact finding hearing, how to prepare for the Section 7 report, how to prepare for the safeguarding call, how to prepare for your first visit with Kafkas, how to see if you can get Kafkas out of the case. Because if you can put them at ease, a lot of times they'll say, look, there's no further role, they are out. If you get a Section 7, that's what, 13 weeks, right? 13 weeks of not seeing your child. 13 weeks. And then the waiting times before they find a hearing to list a hearing for you. You're looking at 3, 4, 5 months added to your case. And then in that time, you're not seeing your child. In that time, the mother is turning the child against you. In that time, the child is growing up without a father. But nobody tells you those things before you go to court. And when they tell you that it's coming, they don't prepare you. But if you let's say you're starting your case here today, just for the sake of example, and it would take, let's say, 8 weeks from today or 9 weeks of today for you to see the Kafka's officer. Why do you have to, which is to be longer to be fair, but so let's say 3 months. Why don't you use this time to prepare? Why do you want to wait 6 weeks or 7 weeks for the order, or 8 weeks, whatever, and then have a little bit of time to prepare when you could have start preparing now, knowing that it may come? Let's say it doesn't come. Is it not better to be prepared? You love your child, you want to do your best. So why wait? High conflict feeds the ego of the person creating the high conflict. To see you broken, to see you confused, to see you blindsided makes them feel good, makes them feel important. It makes them feel like they are alive. So whoever is causing that for you wants it. You think it's bad energy. To them it's great. There's a saying, don't wrestle with a pig in the mud, because both of you get dirty, but the pig likes it. You have to understand, some people like the drama. They really, really do. High conflict creates a victim status for the person creating the high conflict. And they make you look like a monster. They make you look like a bad person. And they are the good, innocent victim. So it's status. And then they can revenge on you for all the things they don't like about you, for all the disappointments, and perhaps some wrongs that you did. Again, is it fair? No. But that's the reality. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? High conflict cases make money for a lot of people, a lot of organizations. So there's the support workers, there's the social workers, there's the contact centers, there's the mental health professionals, there are the programs, right? The people who provide programs, parenting program, domestic abuse perpetrators programs, and so forth. So how would they relinquish all that? For what? So you can see your kids? No. So once you understand the narrative that the father is unnecessary, perhaps even unwelcome, is an obstacle to the mother's autonomy. And believe me, I've heard that in court, to paraphrase. It's an obstacle to the mother being a free, independent woman. Why would they relinquish that? You see? So the high conflict situation you think is bad, but for a lot of people it's great. That's what they like in family courts, because that's how they eat. That's what's interesting. It's boring to just have a case where, it's just normal. The parents are like, yes, we care about each other, but we can't be together. It's boring. Nothing to gossip about. Nobody gets paid from that. You do your consent order, you go home, and that's it. Who wants that? If everybody did that, then the family court could not exist as it does, could it? You see, my position is that there are a lot of people who don't have a positive contribution to society. So destroying families is right up their alley, because it's easy to destroy. It's easy to create all that negative energy and to lie. Like we saw in that post that I showed you earlier. She's not even look at any evidence and just giving destructive tips, destructive advice, destroying the children's self-esteem by telling them the father is a bad person, providing language that makes the father look even worse, and no accountability, no scrutiny. So you can't afford to be the same. You actually can't, because the court will scrutinize you. I've seen some horrible allegations, and once that finding is made against you, that's it. For the rest of your child's life, that's going to be the obstacle between you and them. Of course, until they are no more a child, till they are an adult, where perhaps they might build a relationship with you, or if you're lucky or you work hard, um, if we make it happen, then you have a good relationship. But that finding is even one finding of domestic abuse. That's all they need, just one, just one, and that changes everything for you and your child forever. So the chaos in a high conflict divorce or high conflict child arrangement proceedings gives more opportunity for you to be found liable for something, to have a finding made against you in the family court. So if you're in family court right now, you're facing false allegations, or you think you might be facing false allegations, and your child's mother is stopping your children from seeing you, get in touch. If you think you're facing parental alienation, get in touch. Let's work together. Let's coach you to get to the next level. Let's overcome your situation. I had to ditch my lawyer because my lawyer was not telling me all this stuff that I'm sharing with you today. My lawyer was not letting me know ahead of time of the things that were coming. And to be honest with you, she lied a couple of times in a way that affected my case. Sometimes she neglected things. It's very, makes me angry when I think about it. It's very annoying. So I had to study the law myself to represent myself, and I had to fight. And thanks to the good work, I was able to get a shared live with order through the appeal courts, because I had to appeal my case. But the only reason why I was able to appeal my case was because I put in the work, I put in the effort, way ahead of time, way ahead of time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make it. And when I was looking for help, nobody was willing to help me. Nobody was willing to, uh, teach me what to do. In fact, I was discouraged. I was told not to appeal because less than 2% of appeal cases win. So I was told not to do it. I had people that I thought would support me get angry with me that I wanted to appeal the decision that was made. But I didn't listen. I fought, and I was able to get the shared live with order. So the same way, if you fight, you put in the work, you will get a result that will be better than if you don't. Because as it stands, all the forces are being gathered, all the things, all the effort is being made against you. And you know this because, again, you're in a high conflict situation. One thing I want you to be sure that you don't do is don't argue anymore with that person, whether it's over the text or over the phone, because all that is going to create evidence against you when you go into court. But the best thing you can do for yourself is get in touch with me. I will give you an hour of my time, free of charge, with no obligation on your part, to help you out, figure out the strategy. And it's not an hour where I'm pitching you my services or anything like that. If you're interested in my services, yes, I'll tell you how it works. But the whole time is dedicated towards getting you the best possible result in family court. The time is dedicated to helping you win so you can see your children, so that we can de-escalate the conflict as much as possible, neutralize the false allegations, and find you a way forward. And we've had situations where, even though there were findings, we've still been able to push forward, right? It's not easy because in a high conflict situation, it never ends. It never ends. But you can put brakes on a lot of the situations to the degree where you have sanity. You can see your children regularly, perhaps get them to live with you, or if you get a shared live with order, you know. And it's a really nice feeling, you know, when you see your child happy to see you, when your children enjoy spending time with you after you've not seen them for so long, you know it's worth it. When you read the bedtime stories, when you run with them, play in the park, carry them on your back and so forth, play football, run about, things like that. You will love it. So don't let the high conflict proceedings discourage you from fighting for your children and for putting in your best work. So you can reach me at bravefathers.com or find me on X at bravefathers, x.com/@ bravefathers. And let's schedule a 1 hour, no obligations, no cost to you consultation. And let me help you see your children. So thank you so much for listening today to our program on high conflict proceedings. My name is John Paul from bravefathers.com, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you soon. All the best. See you at the next show. Take care.
bravefathers.com